Good morning everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time watching my video, please do well to subscribe to get life-changing content. If this is not your first time and you are yet to subscribe, please subscribe. Today's topic will be discussing an important question that so many persons asked, and I would like to read out the question. I study very well, but I tend to forget everything I read once I see the question in the wall. Help me. I study very well. Are you sure you study very well? Yes, because this has happened to so many students and it has happened to me. Before I answer this question, I would like to tell us a story about one exam I had similar encounter in. It was I think recent exam. I knew so much about this principle I'm about to share, but I was so fast that I didn't apply it in almost all the topics that I read. I went to the exam hall, and the question that they gave us that day was to write 10 courses of full stomach. I knew this, it was in my notes. In fact, in my notes, I had 15 courses of full stomach. But then in the exam, it was as if I forgot everything. I struggled so much to remember just 5. And I couldn't. And this question is something that is very, very simple. In fact, it's a giveaway question. It's a giveaway question. The consultant might just decide to give it out so that students will do so well. But I discovered that I was struggling with the question because I did not take my time to actually put this in my brain and also test my brain to know if I can still remember it. Okay, one of the reasons we forget in exam hall is that we don't practice adequate recall. By recall, what do I mean by that? After studying, after making your notes, the way you answer it in exam hall, it's in your notes and not in your brain. And until you tax your brain to remember everything that you've studied, then you are not sure you know that. Recall will help you to know if the information that you've put in your brain is in your brain. And how do you check that the information you are putting inside your brain is in your brain? Is by asking your brain, okay, it's time to bring it out. And unfortunately, the only time we try this is in an exam hall. Let exam not be the first thing that will test your memory, because it can be very, very painful. In fact, so many persons will start crying in exam hall because these are familiar questions that they know and they've studied, but they can't remember the answer in examination hall. Reasons because they did not practice adequate recall. One lady came to my room one day and she was complaining bitterly about how she reads, and once she gets the question paper, she will forget everything she has read. The first question I asked her was, do you practice recall before the examination hall? She was mute because she could not understand what I was saying, and I discovered that this is actually the first time she is hearing about the word recall. And I know that most of us, this is the first time we must have heard about the word recall. Recall should not be an unfamiliar word to us as a student. There is a difference between passive reading and active reading. In passive reading, you are scanning through your notes, but in active reading, you are reading and you are taxing your brain to remember what you've read.
By recall, I mean trying to answer the questions without going through your notes, trying to teach someone without going through your notes, trying to revise, bring out answers to a particular question before without going through your notes. You're trying to produce everything offhand. You don't have a guide. This is what I do personally a night before the exam. I get my notes. When I talk about notes, of course, I've explained to you what it means to make a note. You're making a note the way you answer the question in the exam hall. You finished studying. Prior to the exam time, it's not the first time you are studying. You've studied so much before the examination time, and this time around you are trying to revise. So you are getting your notes by the side, and then you have your pen, and you have your books, and I get the topics I've written out while studying. Then, by the help of the Holy Spirit, I choose questions because this is a night to the exam. I am not trying to study everything because there is no time and I need to sleep. So, by the help of the Holy Spirit, I pick out questions that the Holy Spirit is putting in my heart and will come out. Then I will just list out the questions and I will try to answer these questions. I'll try to answer it myself without going through my notes. Then, in the process of answering these questions, I might forget some things. what do? I will simply go back to my notes, and then I will get the answer to this question. When I get the answer to this question, I will try as much as I can to read it, and then I will close the note again and I will answer it. Now I'm doing this thing in my room, not in the examination hall. But some students try this for the first time in the examination hall. Don't allow the examination to be the first thing that will test your knowledge. Try as much as you can to bring out informations from your brain prior to the examination time, so that examination will not be the first test of knowledge, and it can be very bad for some students. So I have explained how I do my own. I do it 2 nights, a night before this. And once the exam is closed, I'm trying everything I can to bring out things I have in my head. And if I can't produce it, I'll go through my notes and then I fill it up. By this time, I'm filling up the necessary gaps that are in my knowledge about a particular course. I try to teach people as much as I can. If you are reading something and you couldn't understand, I would always like to volunteer to teach, because the more I teach, the more I discover the gaps between the knowledge I have about a particular topic, and I will go back and then I will study it again and I will fill in those gaps. So this is how I do my recall. You can use flashcards. Okay, flashcards can be used for weeks before the exam. While you study a particular topic, you can just ask some questions with the flashcards and all, and you can keep it during the exam. You're now revising with your flashcards. Maybe the question in front of the flashcard can be, what is a noun? You are turning you will say it before you turn the back of the flashcard. You can use different methods that can help you to recall. Anything that will help you to bring out the information from your brain, please use that method, because it will help you to discover if you really know this thing or if you don't know it. It's also very important for you to recall before the examination morning that you've read this multiple choice question over and over again. Maybe you read it 3 weeks before the exam or 4 weeks before the exam. Multiple choice question is not something that you start reading towards the exam. Once you are okay, I have explained this before. When you are studying a particular course and a particular topic, get the multiple choice question that is related to that topic and study along with it. So this will help you to have a broader knowledge of that particular topic. Then towards the exam now, for you to study the multiple choice, what you will do is that you bring the multiple choice questions, like bring as much as you can. You can also look for your school pass questions. You can also look for, there are texts that have multiple choice with it. You can just glance through it again, refresh your memory. Don't assume that the one that you read before is still going to be sufficient for you. You can just read it again and try to answer it yourself to know if you can cover the answers and answer it yourself, so that you don't go into this familiarity trap that you already know the answers to this MCQ, especially some MCQs that are marked already. So you are just going through it, without even without noticing the fact that you don't know this. If the multiple choice questions are already answered, you can just cover the answers, or you cancel the answers and try to bring out the answers yourself. Please, you might not do this a night to the exam. You can do that maybe a day or 2 days to the exam. Cover it and try each time you want to study your multiple choice questions. Don't go through it passively. Cover it and answer it yourself. This method is actually not it's time consuming, because we will always want to reread again, because that one is time conserving, not so efficient. So please, let's try to recall. Let's try to study actively and not passively, because when you study passively, you tend to forget 90% of everything you've studied. But when you study actively, you tend to remember 90% of everything you've studied. Another way that you can use is having a study group. In that study group, everybody is asking themselves to remember. You are coming together now to brainstorm. By brainstorming, I mean that you don't come to read the note again. You're asking yourself questions. For example, hypertension. What is hypertension? What are the causes of hypertension? Cassie, can you tell me the definition of hypertension? Ngozi, can you tell me the pathophysiology of hypertension? This one. So everybody is brainstorming. You are listening, you are trying to recall, you are reading. When people in your study group don't get the answer, you go back and you read it again to encode these things into your brain. And you see, it's a very efficient way to study. So another important factor is not having enough sleep. Not having enough sleep. It's so bad that students believe that the longer they study, the more they retain information in their brain. Sleep can help, adequate rest can help in memory consolidation. So please try as much as you can to sleep for at least 4 hours before the exam. I sleep for 5 hours before the exam, and I still do well in my studies, because that night of exam is not the night to start reading for the first time.
Try to rest well before every examination. The first time that I tried TDB, it was bad. It was bad for me. I went to the examination hall and I discovered that I forgot a lot of things. I was having headache, I was feeling dizzy, I was tired, and then I forgot everything I've read. It was an experience I wouldn't want you to encounter. It was bad, and after that day I decided never to try it again. So before any exam, I try to sleep for at least 5 hours. Medical students will disagree with me that 5 hours is too much. 5 hours, oh, what will I be doing sleeping when I have exam? But then it's important. Adequate sleep is very important in memory consolidation. You can't tell me that you read all night and you will give your best in the examination hall. You will miss out some things. TDB is not for me. Till daybreak, the first time I tried it, it was not good for me, and after that I don't do it again. So it's not wonderful to read all night. Adequate sleep. You have to be focused. You have to be what? Focused. Don't try doing so many things at the same time. You have your exam coming up next week and you're still entangled with so many things, so many responsibilities and all. Try to be focused, get your exam done, and then that's it. I do business in school. I have sweet blends, I make smoothies, I make milkshakes, and this requires my active participation. But towards the exam, I tend to, because I make the smoothies myself and I make the milkshakes myself. So but towards the exam, I tend to narrow down to my studies and to fellowship. I just focus on studying and fellowshipping with the Lord, because I understand that exam should not stop my fellowship, of course, and I just have to maximize these two. Then after exam, I continue with other things. What do I want to achieve by telling you this? It's just for you to be focused, so that your attention will not be divided. So you'll not be doing so many things at the same time, and your attention is not in your exam, is in your business, is in your political career, is in your football association, is in your volleyball. Like, you have a lot of things going on while you're writing an exam. Why not stop some things and then finish your exam, and then you continue? Your exam is just 3 weeks or highest 1 month, while every other thing will be there waiting for you to conclude your exam. Then life continues. The last and the most important point is the ministry of the Holy Spirit to help us to remember. Holy Spirit is my closest friend in the examination hall. I've talked about avoiding examination malpractice, so that interact with the Spirit of the Lord. The Holy Spirit, I so much believe in the ministry of the Holy Spirit to cause me to remember everything I've read. So I'm going to the hall, I'm going with the Holy Spirit, and I believe the Holy Spirit will always help me to remember, because he's my best friend. He's whenever I talk about the Holy Spirit, I smile so much, because I have had so many encounters with him in the exam hall, when he reminds me of so many things, and even some things I thought I've forgotten, and like boom, everything comes back to my memory, and I'm just happy because the Holy Spirit has so much helped me in my examination. You can actually maximize his ministry. Don't look down on him. Go to the examination hall with your best friend, the Holy Spirit. Before the exam, I'm praying in the Spirit. During the exam, I'm praying in the Spirit. After the exam, I'm praying in the Spirit. Mind you, I pray as the promptings comes. Okay, I'm writing my exam, I'm conscious of the time, and then I'm praying this. I'm doing some prayers quietly, silently. Oh God, it's a beautiful thing to fellowship with the Holy Spirit in the examination hall. It's a beautiful thing, but I'm not saying that you start singing and shouting. Like, there's this intimacy, there's this kind of fellowship that it's just you and the Holy Spirit and your paper and of course your brain. You're just fellowship, you're just singing songs, you're just worshiping, and maybe you forgot something, then the Holy Spirit will remind you of that and be like, oh sweet Holy Spirit, thank you sweet Holy Spirit. It's so beautiful. Like, it's an experience I love so much. Don't forget to do adequate recall until you've tested your brain to bring out the information you don't know it. So try as much as possible to bring out those information that you've stored in your brain from your brain. Try to get enough rest. Then be focused. Don't have so many distractions. Don't be doing so many things at the same time. Focus on passing the examination, and then every other thing can wait. After the exam, you can continue. The last and the most important point is the ministry of the Holy Spirit to cause us to remember everything that we've read. The Holy Spirit is always there. Oh my God. I just want you to experience what I do experience in an examination hall. It's so beautiful. It's a very beautiful experience I would want all my friends to experience. Thank you so much. Thank you for sticking to the end of this video. My name is Dr. Onyinyechuku Onyanosi, and I would like you to join me next week as I expose more about academic excellence. Thank you very much. Bye.